Welcome back as we're gearing up for Game 2 of TOP versus FPX. Game 1 went over to FPX. FPX handled them. That was a pretty clean one. Clement, let me know how you feeling about that one for FPX, because early on they were looking real good.
Yeah, it looked way too clean for FPX.
Yes.
They defend the crown without even breaking a sweat. I think that's a big problem for TOP. The way TOP like to play is, first off, Knight has to be big.
Yep.
They have to get into that scaling team fighting, and none of those things really happened. So the usual TOP did not show up whatsoever that game.
Yeah, what we got to see was early game movements starting with Crisp and then ending with Doinb, who will end up getting the MVP here. So congratulations for Doinb. That's going to be his 5th MVP. He's getting closer and closer to that 7 MVP mark that Tian has, but take a look at that 100% kill participation.
That's what we're talking about, Doinb. There's no other mid laner like him. Nobody handles the entire team's initiation. You just don't think of a mid laner's job being that, but he's the old driver. He's going to take that Scion. He's going to open that Realm Orb and send the team in. That's his role.
He really reminds me of like a top laner or a jungler, because he hits a lot of the stats that we really recognize them for. Kill participation, there was once upon a time engage stat of just like how many times did he engage, and that's always been something that he's able to just surpass a lot of the mid laners in the LPL. He starts the fight, and if you give him chance to the early game to get those kills underneath them, Righteous Glory, Rylai's Crystal Scepter, send me in a lane and let me find somebody.
Can I just say something? I think Doinb is actually just a top laner. He's just a
Yeah,
bruiser player and an initiator. He
is.
actually is just a top laner. And the question for a lot of teams is, how do you shut down a bruiser mid when you're playing mages on the other hand? That's the big question. And I think what RNG did was they shut down Tian alongside with Doinb.
Yep.
They made sure Doinb died earlier on, and that's the question I have for Xiongxiong. Can he still play that type of style? Because he's much used to farming up and then taking over the map
Didn't
later.
get a chance this time around. In fact, we have video to show you something that, you know, FPX was able to accomplish. The moment they got out of the lanes, it was how they played around the dragon objectives. Like, one of the biggest criticisms we have for FPX is like being able to have the vision control over these matchlet neutral camps. But this time around, they held it and turned it into such a great team fight opportunity.
Yeah, and Tian really started this fight off super well. You could see him forcing out LokeN at the start of the fight, getting that extra kill, wasting so much time away from TOP members, and then LWX has this beautiful stopwatch, perfect timing to take himself out of the situation and make sure the trade is favorable for FPX right there. Overall, FPX, once they got control of the map, they played it so well. TOP never found a single comeback opportunity.
Yeah, and I know that Doinb ended up giving that MVP, but I felt like in my heart, in my soul, Crisp was the guy.
Yes.
Crisp on his Thresh, not only did he find the early pick on the jungle that got them first blood early on, because he roamed from bottom lane straight towards mid lane. There were a few points about that. I know that mid lane was held pretty well by Doinb, but you could also say on the other hand, mid lane control there, the wave control was pretty poor from Knight, so it gave up the opportunity for a mid lane push, but it ended up turning into a kill onto the jungler there. That was just really messy coming in from TOP, just from the mid lane jungle duo that we really give him praise for.
Yeah, and this is the big thing about the stats that we see. In terms of mid-jungle proximity, they're actually very low in terms of the ranking. So what Xiongxiong is doing most of the time is that he's actually power farming while Knight holds down the mid lane himself. Knight is that good of a mid laner that he can typically do it. But against Doinb, which is also a very high caliber mid laner, you can see that it needs to be more technical. It can't just be reliant on individual strength. I think that's what RNG really showed us, is that even when they have such a good jungler like Karsa, such a good mid laner like Xiaohu, they played a style that was logically sound. It was about level 2 invade. It was about having the better dueling jungle matchup in both of those matches that they won. And if you're going against Doinb and Tian, it cannot just be I'm individually better. It has to be sound in theory, and that's what TOP really missed that game.
Yeah, I think something that we don't get to enjoy a lot about how TOP end up playing, because when we talk about their mid jungle, it's not as if that's where the buck stops.
Yeah,
it's a lot of it just actually playing and using Knight to end up going top lane for 369, because for top jungle proximity, well, there we go. XX is 4th place on that one. But when it comes down to the mid lane, that we were like, well, that's what you should be. That's where anybody out there, the armchair analysts, everyone's like, camp for Knight, right? That's what they would expect. That's not how the team operates. Is that how you think that they should be playing out in this specific series? Now they're going up against FPX. That's how they were toppled when they went up against RNG had to be forced to a Game 3 versus Invictus Gaming. Is that how you do it versus them in this series?
Well, I don't think that Knight and Xiongxiong are going to be able to change their fortunes throughout just one series.
Yep.
What I would like to see from TOP, especially on a red side draft, is for them to actually have more counter lanes. I think that was a big issue so far in Game 1. The Renekton versus the Gangplank, you win out early, but it's not really considered a counter matchup. Same thing with LeBlanc versus Ryze. You are giving over a lot of lane priority for FPX to do what they want. And typically how we've seen TOP win their games is that they're super dominant in lanes, and then when it comes to late game team fights, suddenly you have LokeN.
Yep.
And that's kind of the smooth sailing that they want to find. They stumbled on the first step, and they didn't get to the second step, basically, is what happened in Game 1. So I want to see a little bit more laning strength come out from this draft.
That's the beauty of a best of 3. Is you get to see if a team just completely throws the last draft away into the bin or try and like refine it, because that composition was, we ain't looking at the bottom lane of LokeN and Ben, as you're saying. We hope that they would, the usual game plan, come in line later on in team fights, but they were getting throttled in the laning phase. And I think if we're going at how do you protect them, do you now build for them? Do you say, you know, if we're on red side, if we're just trying to prioritize for our bottom lane matchup of Kalista and Galio, do we ban out the Thresh, or do we then pick up something that is a better matchup bottom lane? Do you want to pick for the bottom lane, or do you want to just make their job a little easier if they go Kalista?
To be honest, I just want to see Knight on something that is a direct counter matchup. If Doinb is going to show his champion first, I want to see something that is very powerful against that pick, that can shut him down. That's what RNG did. You basically throw a bunch of crowd control at him. You make Doinb play a Scion and be pretty much useless throughout the early portions of the game.
All right, so you value the counter matchup for the solo laners.
I value it super highly. I think Jace is one of those picks that actually they should leave unbanned if they're still on the red side.
I'm sorry, duo laners out there. You're not getting prioritized. You're going to give you Kalista, Galio every game. Let's see if that's the strategy as we go right back into the pick and bans. All right, immediately off of this, Jace being the first ban here for FPX, so not going to be there at all here for GimGoon. But the opposite side, TOP is banning out Ryze and the Lissandra. You know what, Doinb? Let's see if you got third banned here.
Ryze is a little bit too annoying. I understand why a lot of teams ban out Ryze against Doinb, because if you have map control, I think Ryze is just straight up the best champion. He can teleport your entire team for engages. He can send you straight toward the Baron Pit. We've seen so many plays around Ryze, so I understand that even when Doinb has a massive champion pool.
Yeah, if you get that control, that's a big, question mark on that one. Rek'Sai being a ban from TOP. What is TOP's priority? I mean, it won't be Zoe here. Both Zoe and the Lissandra off the map, so maybe Ben gets his hand on his Thresh. Not going to be the case. Vladimir is going to be the first pick for 369, possibly.
This is some snake drafting going on
That's
here.
True.
So Vladimir, I think he's one of the strongest top laners currently in the meta right now. It doesn't really matter about his laning phase. His laning phase actually got significantly better. The Urgot cannot punish him that hard in lane, but the team fight phase is just too damn deadly. So TOP, they're already looking for late game outs at this point, not going for the counter matchup route. They are on blue side, so it's much harder to go down that route. They're just going to go for raw power in terms of their picks.
Priority picking your solo laners. Clement, this is not what you had on the docket.
I said if they were on red side.
All right.
That's going to be my excuse.
That's your way out. That's your way out. All right, well, we'll see what ends up happening, because FPX have their options to just counterpick on first phase, interestingly enough. But just looking at TOP's first 3 picks, it's going to be Vladimir, LeBlanc, and picking up that Aatrox. It was banned in the first team. This time around, perhaps XX gets his chance at it.
So we've seen Aatrox do very, very well in terms of a jungle position, especially paired up with crowd control from the mid lane. However, I'm not sure this strategy is going to work out, because Doinb actually plays a lot of bruiser champions. We're talking about Renekton and Kled. So when you're going up against a bruiser, a lot of times you can't even finish that kill before Olaf is on the scene. And it can really turn things sideways. So I like that they're trying for a more gank-heavy approach for Xiongxiong. But at the same time, I feel like Doinb should have the champion pool to really dodge around this.
He's going to need a champion pool, because he got targeted in the first phase. And if you believe that TOP is going to stop, you haven't watched TOP games. So with Zoe, we'll count him back up. Zoe, Jace, Lissandra, and Ryze being our mid lane bans already. I wonder what TOP is going to levy straight towards him as Tom Kent gets banned out by FPX.
I wonder if LokeN actually will go on to the Kalista. That's a big question for me because it's not one of his high priority picks, but it is a champion that does pretty well against the Lucian. So if he does take that up, they could play through a strong bottom side.
We've talked about it, Clement. We've talked about LokeN's champion pool here. LokeN when he's on second phase, when he was on JD and TOP, I said Jinx. But also you're right about Kalista being an option here. Tristana is a decent one too. It's just that they know they're going up against a Lucian, so finding a decent matchup is going to be hard, as the Kaisa option has been denied by FPX. FPX banning out Kaisa, while TOP looking for their second ban. Already banned away the Corki out of the mid lane. Gotta wonder, maybe they watched a few Doinb streams and taken away the Yasuo as an option.
So FPX are still prioritizing on shutting down the bot lane. They're identifying LokeN as the most prominent threat at this point. I'm actually quite interested about the Kaisa ban. I wouldn't actually ban the Kaisa. I would actually just make it, okay, take Kaisa. I have Lucian Alistar. That's going to be a horrible laning phase for you. So we're just going to stomp you in the bot lane, and then we have counter picks for your top and mid. I'm happy for that. It's like a really good draft, but
nice gift, yeah.
It's interesting to see that much priority actually being thrown into shutting down LokeN. Oh, and that's Kalista locked in.
Insta locked in on Kalista. You wanted to see it happen.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Yorick too. Yorick locked in for GimGoon, which is going to be a fun one here in the top lane. So that's going to be GimGoon on that Yorick. Olaf there for Tian. We'll see what they end up coming with their last pick. But speaking of last picks here, TOP rounding it up with a Galio.
So my understanding of the Yorick has changed a little bit in this matchup. Now, especially with the Conquerors, it should do quite well against Vladimir. We've seen the Yorick being able to push down through tower after tower, and the Vladimir really has to find the team fights to kind of justify his existence.
Oh, please. I need this. I need this right now. Doinb a few years back was known for his karma, and he gets the karma. Look
at that smile.
I know, right? There's not a lot of times where you get excited for a karma pick, but Doinb, you see him smiling. There was once upon a time where teams, every game, would just ban karma against him. He gets his chance at it again.
This is silly. So, Karma Olaf is one of the strongest jungle mid duos you will ever find. A sped up Olaf is absolutely frightening. He is the pain train incarnated, and he will just run through anything. You can't control him with the LeBlanc. You can't really beat him out with crowd control on the Aatrox either. So FPX, they're saying, you know what? If you're going to target our mid laner, it's fine. We are bringing our strong 2v2 as well.
Yeah, early game options with the Olaf and Karma, late game options with the Karma and Lucian. So the composition looks very good, and if you haven't seen Doinb on his Karma pick, a lot of supportive picks. Remember, you can go towards the Athene's Unholy Grail, which is great into the specific matchups. He picked this one up quite frequently when he was going up against Syndra. A lot of lane bullies that were coming up at that time in 2017. And so the early Magic Resist would be able to deal with that. Now he has that Magic Resist option versus a LeBlanc.
Yeah, we talked about the mid lane being the most important matchup throughout this series, and I think in both drafts, we really have to hand it to Doinb. Coming out with different champion pools, coming out with unorthodox picks, Righteous Glory Rise, bringing the Karma back from 2000, I don't know, 16 or 17?
17, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, just to make sure Knight cannot have the impact in the game. However, there's one thing I didn't like about that draft.
Give it to me.
I think they should have let the Kaisa go. I think you respect LokeN to play with the meta and select the Kalista. I think they should have taken the strong bot lane option away. But to be fair to them, he's only played it once. So we have to see how LokeN actually fares on this champion. He's typically much more known as a late game carry rather than a lane dominant AD.
Yeah, challenging. A few new picks here. You're seeing the Kalista, you're seeing the Karma on your screen. You get to really decide which one is more proficient on the other. Going into game 2 of FPX versus TOP.
What? Ooh, we hear flashes.
Who flashed? All right, let's check the screen.
It's Ben.
Ben's just not having a good day.
Nope, he isn't. I wonder how that happened. It typically is the undertow.
Yeah, it was definitely. You heard an undertow. This is literally all you heard.
That's Doinb's wife, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, you heard the undertow and then you heard the flash. So there's not much to it. Hopefully we get to see the replay of what their positioning is like. I love level 1s. I love really interesting level 1s. When there's a Braum on your screen, sometimes it's like if there's an Olaf, you get to see it. So it was actually pretty pretty easy. Him going out that far is just not good if you're a Galio.
Oh, Justice Punch level 1 too. Yikes. Yeah, but, there's not much to say about that. I don't understand why Ben was roaming into the river at that point in time. When, if you saw FPX's route, they actually didn't take the fastest route either.
Yeah.
They actually came from the bottom side of the river. So a very clear cut and dry mistake by Ben. We've seen a couple of those from TOP right now. However, we should still say that Kalista is favored in this laning phase, and you can just see how much damage she's already outputting.
Yeah, Halo Blades Kalista is fun to play, fun to watch, because when you come out just Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield, level 1, you have such low attack speed, but of course, the ability to reposition with your passive, the 3 instant auto attacks that you have, all of it is just fun to have if you're the Kalista. I remember Kalista's earlier options was lethal tempo, but this one just doesn't have any delay. So you just go right in. The moment you get in, you can have your quick trade in and out.
Ooh, early skirmish being set up right here. Xiongxiong does spot the ward. He was placed right down in front of him. Is he still going to go for that blue buff? This is quite risky if Doinb can make it through, but it doesn't look like Doinb is playing towards that side of the map.
Tian is low on HP and mana, so he doesn't want to be able to take this fight. That just means that XX is going to be able to go for the blue buff, regardless of whether or not Doinb has pressure in the lane.
Tian actually wins out in terms of tempo, however. He's already taken 3 maps, well, 3 camps. Well, this will only be the 3rd, starting on the 3rd for Xiongxiong.
Taking a look at the runes here for the people who are ecstatic about Karma on your screen. Minion Dematerializer, Magical Footwear, and something I really love here, near and dear to my heart, is the Mana Flow band.
Yeah, so to summarize it from Karma, it's all about pushing, Minion Dematerializer, and scaling. He actually took Gathering Storm, which is quite rare these days. And also the Transcendence, which doesn't activate until you're much higher in levels. Ooh, 4v2 early on.
You don't get to see a lot of them, but here comes the TP. Has to flash away, but I think Crisp is still fine. They're repositioning for the dive. Who's going to be able to tanking it? Crisp is alive for a little bit longer, even with the Pulverize. Knight and Ben come into that one easy and alive.
Yeah, so a cool thing about LeBlanc is during the passive, you actually drop tower aggro. So really well done by Knight to actually take the tower aggro early, knowing that his passive would gate him out of that situation, and an early snowball being started for the LeBlanc.
Yeah, end up going to be trading the gold turret plating being picked up, but the Bulwark passive doesn't allow them to go for the second turret plating. So at least FPX can come right back into the lane and look towards Doinb, who's pushing this one out.
I really hope LWX can keep this lane even, because this is one of those matchups. Once it hits 6, the Lucian can die so easily. We're talking about the Pokeball combination from LokeN and Galio. The reason this is so potent is because Galio, a lot of times, he needs flash to make those big engages, and with Fate's Call, you don't need the flash. He can just throw you in, and you can get that multi-man taunt. So with the way it's starting, TOP actually find themselves in a very comfortable snowball position to continue to grow that lead on LokeN.
Just taking a look at top lane a little bit. It's going to be GimGoon picking up the Grasp of the Undying. So a little bit more of a tankier option there. Something that people need to recognize with how Conquerors ends up working with them is that there's still the attrition passive. So even if you have damage over time, or the little minions that that you have there with Yorick, you still have to wait 5 seconds for that same damage to proc once again. So you need to still put in that hard work if you want to get the passive stacking up to 5. So makes a lot of sense that he still goes Grasp here to be able to keep himself topped up.
Look at that zone coming in from LokeN, only allowing LWX to pick up minions with Ardent Blaze. That's how poorly the Lucian is doing in this matchup so far. And Kalista can shrug off any damage being dealt to her. Already with the Vampiric Scepter, this is looking like a continued follow-up gank from Xiongxiong.
It's looking pretty sad, I'd say, for myself. Right now, Galio is doing damage to LWX. LWX having such a hard time. And remember, the potions he's just chugging, I think he's done with him. Right now, the refillable potion, he's on his last dime. So he definitely wants to stop hurting, and LokeN's just chucking spears at him.
It's a very deadly situation. During that entire sequence, LWX actually only picked up 1 minion, while LokeN has been able to pick up, it was 33, now it's 52. pick up 19. So
Yeah.
1 versus 19. That's not a good trade.
And usually sets up for such a large minion wave with how slow they've been pushing it. And you need to defend yourself. Tian on the right side of the map at the right time, because had they lost out the minion wave coming in, that would have been horrifying for LWX.
That would just be GG, but I like the way that TOP is playing this as well.
Yeah,
However,
they're setting it up. You got to get up out of there if you're LokeN and Ben, but you're way too low on level. LokeN's going to be needing to get out there. He actually gets chained down. I wonder who's going to fall
Teleport
first.
stopped.
Yeah, teleport there. But here comes FPX charging straight towards LokeN, only to scare him off. That's 1 kill on a Ben. FPX get 1 for nothing.
That was a really good move by the top lane. I believe it was Dark Procession from GimGoon to stop that TP from coming down. It was a very dicey situation, and LeBlanc is still on the map.
Oh, he got him! Crisp, the last one standing.
No, Chris, you have to press B at the same time. Oh, that was a
Perfectly
technical
handled.
error.
No, that was just perfect. You gotta relax, man. Knight had it all calculated. One of them's got to be left behind at some point.
No, you're supposed to stand still, and everyone say press B at the same time. No one is supposed to be left behind. No child left behind. That's the policy.
Fair enough, fair enough. Some level of coordination that didn't happen, but still being said, that was insane by Knight. Just taking a look at the top lane and how it got stopped. Wonderful to see that Yorick's wall actually divided him. It's fun to see that. It's Yorick and Anivia. Send down the terrain. It's right in between you. You end up getting popped up and moved aside.
That's just funny to watch because it doesn't even count as a knock-up. It's just a nudge.
Yeah.
And that's enough to take you out of teleport, which I think is it's pretty funny. Like, teleport is a very finicky mechanic.
Always getting mid-priority here. You always see Tian coming in and helping Doinb. Full in mana, but looking to the next objective. Remember that Raptors is up and available, but Knight is not going without a fight.
He's actually playing it quite well.
I wonder what the focus here for Doinb. Why did you need that shove early?
Does look like they're going to head towards the Mountain Drake, but you can't really contest it. Bot lane's not. Bot lane's backing at this point. I think the game state is relatively similar to where we just saw it. It's about TOP. They're piling down on the pressure in terms of the bot lane. The bot lane is so far behind, and they're also facing LokeN now with Fate's Call. It's double levels. It's level 6, level 5 against only the level 5 from LWX. If TOP can still control this wave, they just repeat the same play over and over.
A lot easier than the last few times, too, just to make that point even stronger. The fact that LokeN, you already said, level 6. I mean, alarm bells ringing here if you're FPX and you were initially doing a pretty good job at holding the fort bottom lane. Might see an open map, and an open map means that TOP can get the engages a little easier for themselves.
And this is the first time we're in the series we're going to see Knight have a substantial lead even against the Karma. Now, Doinb's build is much more about the scaling option. Remember, Gathering, Storm, and Transcendence being taken by him. So we should see this to slowly go into the favor of the Karma after a couple of levels. But for now, Knight still has the ability to leave lane quite easily. He's already expended all of his minion dematerializers. I want to see if he actually tries to make a play. Also has his teleport up as well. So a lot of playmaking potential.
Going to be starting on that. I always wonder, he didn't feel too confident. Teleport coming in here. This is just Knight returning back into the mid lane. Seeing if they can get a hop on towards Dragon, but FPX are always looming over, seeing if they can find a nice fight over here, but I don't know if they saw XX enter the bush.
It's not a 2v2 TOP really want to take at this point.
They're going to go straight on towards Doinb. Nothing really lands, so XX takes the brunt of the damage. The chain ends up landing there on Doinb. Doinb gets up out of there. Ben joins, but no follow-up, so it'll all stand still.
And this is actually going to cost a lot of bot lane priority for TOP. It really wasn't a 2v2 they wanted to walk into. It does force Doinb out of a cleanse, but you could see the difference in just raw dueling power between those two champions. Karma and Olaf, like, you're never going to kill the Olaf. So I like the decision from TOP in that trade to completely focus onto Karma and see if they could take her down.
Yeah, went all in on her. Knight's been annoying. He's always been trying to stop the back timing here. It's just been a focus on the early laning phase. And I think Karma's doing quite well to keep up in on par in CS, but decided not to back. Wants to be able to pick up the wave here. Knight's been doing a masterful job so far. Even when he is unable to get the kill on a magic resist filled Doinb, he's always been looking to see if he can help on any other parts of the map.
Chris Brome once more. So, one of the more fabled things about the LPL, you never know where the supports actually are.
He always surprises you. The moment you take your eyes off the mini-map is the moment the support decides to be creative.
We used to call that the Megan roam. Baolan's previous ID. Used to love to do that level 4 on Blitzcrank. You just get your boots of mobility and come in from the top side.
Yeah,
mid laners never expect that.
You never do. You get to a certain point, if you have enough experience in the LPL, you start suspecting it. Looking at nameplates on, you're like, he's here somewhere. He's not bottom lane, he's trying to trick me. Another fun one of the supports out there. Road is still playing on Victory 5. He doesn't look mid. He almost rarely looks mid, but he looks top lane. He always tries and find himself impacting the, his solo lanes one way or another. Supports do end up going back to the bottom lane, helping out in the vision controls towards bot side. Whoever ends up getting ahead in this mid lane area will be able to actually use that to roam down bot.
And Xiongxiong is unspotted currently. Ben should be able to clear this out. All flashes, all summoners up for FPX. I don't think they want to contest this, but the lane's not exactly in the best position.
Crisp ends up picking down another ward to at the very least see XX right now. So, yeah, I still think he sees him, even pinged out there. So, at the very least, FPX are suspicious of the jungler being bot side, and Tian already showcasing himself that he's still in the mid lane. Walking right back, Knight is going 2v1 in lane.
Yeah, he's just saying, you know, I've already popped my corrupting potion. Might as well get the burn down. He just pops right back in. But I like this play from TOP. What they're doing is they're leveraging their bot side push priority and then linking up with the mid lane. So 2v2
going right on
option.
top of him. There's a lot of damage here. I wonder if he ends up being forced to use his own ultimate. Tian is just fine. But if you're wondering about the magic of how Tian has such a wonderful jungle mid proximity, it's because he's playing mid. What's happening here. 369 is stuck top lane, tries to auto the wall away from him, but takes a lot of damage here top.
369, one of TOP's homegrown talents, actually came from his youth team.
Yeah, he's getting hit up by, right now, GimGoon's girlfriend, so of course, wants to be able to heal right up and look for the kill. GimGoon didn't end up using, I mean, he used his ultimate, but didn't call her back, so he's going to lose her immediately. 369 is getting pressured quite frequently on the top side of the map. They're not going to be able to need him. In fact, if Doinb and Tian ever get away from the bot side of the map, they have a dive option top side.
Ooh.
Yeah, Tian's getting hurt. He has to use his ultimate, seeing Galio end up following him. Thankfully, Doinb is in position to give him the extra movement speed burst, but that's going to mean that they lose out in their blue buff.
Yeah, and to be honest, FPX held off the snowball quite well. It's already 14 minutes. They didn't lose. Did they lose any turret play? I don't think they lost anything. So even with how strong TOP's bot side did start out, I really like the way that FPX was able to hold on. Tian's been spending a ton of time in towards the bot side just to keep that lane stable. And I felt like TOP, they tried for the mid-jungle 2v2 a little bit too much. They definitely should have done this a little earlier with it, just pushed in bot and then walked into the river. Like, this is the correct way to get the snowball rolling.
The Observer only really showed us one turret plating being lost bottom lane on the dive, but nothing else, so I want to see if there's an update on that one. But for now, back to TOP, you're right. So much focus and force on the mid lane. It seems like FPX are getting closer and closer to what their composition is really entailing. While they haven't been able to use the whole, use Gragas Gragas. I saw Graggy Light way too often, so use the Olaf ultimate and try and charge straight down. Maybe the jungle XX would be a little bit afraid of that one. But they're getting to a point where, Lucian's getting enough CS underneath him. He's actually coming right back up here. Already picked up his Blade of the Rune King, so Karma Lucian's a pretty nice duo in a lot of these larger team fights that they can get online.
If you just look at the bottom side of the map, I would actually give FPX the dueling potential if it was just a straight up 4v4.
Yep.
And all of them were really willing to go at it at the same time. But for now, TOP, they're just swapping the lanes around, and they actually do catch FPX flat-footed. You can see GimGoon having to traverse the map at this point.
At least Lucian's going to be top lane immediately. He'll pick up the wave, but it does give TOP the chance to regain control of the top side of the map. A pretty good time, too. 15 minutes means that they can maybe make the attempt for Rift Herald, so that could be the case here for TOP.
They've got the Ren and the Mountain Drake to set up for this for this comp, and they also have the Vladimir moving in faster, so a very good attempt to cash out on the early lane swap coming from TOP. However, just as we say that, 369 decides to go back to the wave, making it a straight 4v4 for FPX. And this is a 4v4 where there are things that could go wrong, but FPX, they do have to deal with the top lane wave first.
Yeah, both waves here. I mean, they get the chance to really just go for this. I think it was set up well enough by TOP solo laners. I say solo laners, but just the adjacent lanes. So the shove was good enough for XX to just start up on it. So really good early Rift Herald here for TOP.
And if you're talking about late game damage, like in terms of super scaling, I actually do favor TOP's composition just a bit more.
Wow, used it immediately. Gotta wonder why is that the case. Really low. Remember, post 14 minutes means that this Rift Herald is gonna be doing a lot of damage. No gold unless if he takes it. Is the follow-up there? Here comes LokeN and Ben, so they're going to try and brute force it. Oh, XX taking a lot of damage. Has to blow his ultimate early. But Tian, the moment he sees that ultimate blown, they're going to reset for a possible re-engage. XX just about to lose his ultimate duration, so he's up out of there.
The entire team coming in. Bit of damage dealt for TOP. Nothing really expended for in terms of their summoners either. So overall, that was still a pretty good trade for TOP. You do have to remember the Vladimir was free farming in the bot side, got a lot of turret damage down. So good defense, but still advantage sneaking over to TOP.
Yeah, I think if they had coordinated that a little bit better, LokeN and Ben were on the way, but at that point you would want to place the Rift Herald where they're already moving close enough. Speaking of moving, Crisp's got to get the hell out of here. Slowed down, and he should die here. Has to pop the ultimate because a minion died the moment Ren came down, so it was reset. LokeN forcing Crisp away from the tower.
Yeah, that's a lot of tower damage going to be forced down right there. I'm actually a little bit surprised LWX didn't try to use the culling there just to ward off the advancing Kalista.
Knight's already moving towards the top side. Doinb understands that he could be the focus. Knight is relentless. He's going to go for the pick here. It's a lot of damage going down on him, and that might be kill range. He's going to move away from that. Not only was he able to heal a little bit there, but had his members so close to him. Oh no, 369 wants to at least find any form of damage going back. Should be able to heal off, and not only does he have Crimson Rush, but uses his ultimate as well. This has been pretty rough here for 369 on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, it's just holding out for those team fights. You can see the sustain happening from GimGoon as well. 100 HP taken back with just using the last rites on a minion.
Oh no, please don't dive him. He's going in. Right now, GimGoon's having such a good time in this matchup.
I will say, however, in terms of this matchup, yes, a Yorick does get the push most of the time, but it's about how fast you can actually cash in on that. And so far, the tower trading from TOP has been done very well to defend their own outers.
They might be able to get in. Okay, Knight's going to push him back and fast. Crisp has to flash there. XX uses ultimate, thinking that that would be a good follow-up, but just seeing, right now, FPX are relentless on these towers. Mid lane tower was a force right there from FPX, but bottom lane is getting chipped at relentlessly by a GimGoon. But if we're just talking about holistically throughout the map, TOP has a lot of towers they can just move towards. Mid lane tower was an easy pickup, bottom lane tower is fairly low, and top lane is where they had the last dual lane. It seems like their dual lane has ended up now rotating back bottom lane, perhaps setting up for this dragon.
This is a super tense situation. Now, Vladimir finally does have his Hemo Plague up. I think that's the big key for the entire fight here. And he also does have the teleport as well. A good ward being placed in the Mountain Drake pit as well. So I'm not very confident about this fight for FPX. I don't think it's the correct move.
It's pretty healthy, 3k HP, but XX is going to start going to work at it. Look at GimGoon, he's joined the fight. Are they going to go for a 50-50 is the possibility here. Goes to Olaf, that's the steal by FPX. Now they're getting the hell out of there.
Well
they got
done.
the heist of the century.
Well done by FPX. That was not a team fight that I felt they wanted to take. It was definitely a situation where, hey, let's see if we can push this. Maybe the Vladimir's not going to get here in time. Let's see if we can get it.
But they're trying to break the ankles now because they knew that they forced FPX to the bottom side and to go back to base.
They're straight starting.
Yeah, going straight forward. No minions, no wards here. Hey, Blue Trinket catches them out, so at least FPX are going to be in position. If you're TOP, you want to get out of the Baron buff. Channeling the taunt. GimGoon's going to work on the bottom side of the map, so FPX should have the time advantage here.
I don't really like that play. I felt like if TOP wanted to execute on that, the Knight should have stayed around the bot side and tried to stop the backs coming in, but in terms of the timings, that did not work out whatsoever. It was actually very bad.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. 2 towers already. There we go. That GimGoon picks up. He cannot be left unattended. It was kind of a cute play there for TOP. They thought that they had the timing. They're just rushing towards Baron, but FPX had a good understanding of what was going to happen. Used a trinket, and had already stationed GimGoon bottom lane. So this is kind of crazy. You can have a Vitality-esque game if you want to. Play around Baron and have GimGoon start going to town on that objective.
I think that's one of the first big mistakes that we've seen from TOP this game around. That was a lot of tempo being handed over to FPX, and just the timings didn't line up that well. You could see Tian was also very aware of the potential positions that TOP were going to ambush from. Undertow takes out both the LeBlanc and the Galio at the same time. It's like, yeah, I know what you're up to.
And I want to direct yourself to just the items, because I know we look at the Olaf, and it's only recently that you start to look at Olaf as, you know, more of a supportive pick with the redemption pickup. But this is on the same team as a Karma, Alistar. Seems like you have triple supportive items coming through, with LWX and GimGoon being your primary carries. So LWX, this is going to be the game where you would expect him to carry. Maybe he gets that MVP. Last game was looking pretty good for him. This game, he's expected to get the resources and to come off strong here with already, there we go, Ardent Sensor picked up by Doinb. He's ready to, you know, give the shields to LWX at all times. In
LWX, we trust. Now, I don't think those are words that I would utter willingly, to be honest. Like, that's a big risk if you ask me. But like you said, they are going and putting all of those eggs into the LWX basket.
Take a look at it, run away from it. That's an Olaf, but what kind of damage he can do? They take down mid lane turret, but wait a minute, XX thinks that he can push him off. It's a lot of damage on Chris. Chris may go down. Here we go, ultimate proc, passive there for XX.
Call in as well.
Look at 369.
Find GimGoon.
He's right behind the enemy line. GimGoon has to flash away. He still gets chained with his ultimate. He will die, certainly. Knight gets taken fairly low, but no one from FPX wants to follow up on that. They still get mid lane turret somehow, though. So that's a turret there for a kill.
A really good outplay from TOP there. I'm not even sure they had vision of that area somehow. Did sniff out that the GimGoon was going to be on that track. And a good direction onto the Fate's Call. In that fight, I think we saw a couple of things that are quite interesting. First off, the Zeke's Herald is not actually changed to Lucian. It is actually changed to Olaf. So they're thinking about the mid-jungle duo a little bit more than putting all of the things into LWX. LWX is a great late game carry, but he's also well known for being a little bit inconsistent. Okay, now GimGoon actually just stepped right in front of Knight. That was a mistake. That was a mistake for sure.
He didn't get that email about them not wanting to fight then. They were all disengaging, but he ended up trying to do something. Speaking of doing something, Tian throwing in some axes. They're positioned in an interesting area around Baron Nashor, but they still need to be able to take that top lane outer turret if they want to have pressure here. TOP in the area looking for the outer turret top lane. They have a pretty good chip on it, so we'll have to see if there's anything FPX can do about this.
Most of the ultimates down on both sides. FPX overloading this side already, and GimGoon still on the bot. So 5v4 overloaded top side. FPX just say, you know what, we're going to give this one up.
They already have great control wards in their own jungle, so FPX are in a pretty good defensive position. There's no position for TOP to start on Baron Nashor. But take a look at this. I mean, GimGoon's already going to work. Only tower that's left in the bottom lane is the inner, or at least the inhibitor tower. So they can go for the inhibitor tower. If there's ever a play around Baron, you have to watch GimGoon. I don't think he's going to be going for another a teleport or flank with the Yorick.
Yeah, that's the thing about GimGoon. He's a great solo laner, but a lot of times in terms of communication, he doesn't look super on spot. However, talking about the map state right now, this is a second Mountain Drake, which FPX cannot hand over. Not with the Kalista on the map. They're going to have to fight for this.
All right. I mean, they're going to be going for it. I think FPX are in a pretty decent spot. A little bit of a chunk on a LokeN here, so he's just going to go back to the minion wave. Mid-wave priority is there for FPX. They couldn't regain control vision here, but TOPN is in a pretty good spot to try and cut them off.
It's about saving private LWX, because the majority of the damage is going to come from one source on that team from FPX, and that's going to be the Lucian. They actually just give it up. Didn't want to really contest the second Mountain Drake. Felt like with Vladimir on the side, they were cut up.
Just remember, just taking a look at the items, LWX cannot feel comfortable right now. He was behind early on in the game. He's just trying to play catch up towards LokeN. So for what is, you know, a composition that's built to protect him, if he doesn't feel comfortable, he's going to be making the call that he doesn't want to fight. So this is one of those games where it's super important for your AD carry to communicate what's a good fight and what's a bad fight for him.
But the second mountain is very, very crucial to TOP. The speed at which they can take objectives now, even with just the Kalista around the pit, is going to be very astounding. And to talk about that point with LWX being confident or not, he is quite far behind. And it's 1,300 gold behind. And let's see if LokeN can make use of that.
Doesn't have his support here, so won't be able to engage with his ultimate, but does have red buff, maybe a Vladimir slow. Still got caught out there, so GimGoon's not going to be getting caught by that trick. One thing to take note of, I mean, they still want positioning around Baron, and so vision control around that objective, especially with multiple Mountain Dragons on the map, 2 for TOP and 1 for FPX. There is a possibility where TOP can just rush it. Like, the items are coming down for TOP. They've been getting mid lane pushed so frequently, and only thing that's stopping them from getting is just that one blue trinket that LWX has for himself right now.
Yeah, that second Mountain Drake does change the dynamics quite a bit. Now we're going to have to look on to if Knight can actually hold GimGoon in place.
He can't. This is a bad matchup.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I know the Vladimir was bad, but there's nothing you could do here as a LeBlanc.
There's just too much sustain on GimGoon, and he does have the Spectral Cowl as well, so I think it's just a matchup where he's hoping to force the wave out and make it very unsafe for GimGoon to step up. There is a chain potential.
You're also right in terms of just there's better wave clear in comparison to Vladimir. There's that aspect. Something you have to watch out for is while Knight can set up for a gank, if there's a second person coming in, it's going to be difficult. But speaking of difficulties, Tian is caught off guard here, using the redemption to see if he can get the help of it, but he's already dead, and they've already found the second target. Doinb, is he alive? Yes, he is! Oh my god, he had 30 HP.
Ooh, but that was such a good catch from TOP. Couple of mistakes there made. It's just Tian not taking the correct route around the jungle. Very good by TOP. They had the mid lane priority, and they managed to collapse throughout FPX right side jungle.
That's Kalista, Blade of the Rune King, triple carries, and 2 Mountain Dragons. That one's going down real quickly. That's going to be a Baron buff here for TOP.
Very large advantage for TOP. They have a composition that has very good catch. And look at the items built on 369. He's actually going to go for the Oblivion Orb. Was it the Oblivion Orb? I think maybe I've got the item wrong, actually.
Yeah.
But what it does is it does give you movement speed. And with the items, what 369 is looking to do is create those catch scenarios for TOP. They have so much engage. They have a stronger teamfight composition. They're looking to cash in on it. And this is what I was talking about, the mid lane priority difference. LokeN, with how far he is ahead, actually cuts through the red side jungle of FPX. They don't have control of that area, and Tian should not have been taking that route.
They're always worried about how quickly the Baron could be done, and you're right about not having mid lane priority. It's also because blue trinket wasn't like in range if you're LokeN and you're picking up mid lane wave that early on. So Tian was getting a little bit antsy there. Gets picked up for his troubles. That's Baron buff now, but it seems like LWX wants to go in. He gets daunted, cleanse immediately, but he has to use flash as well. Full engage there from TOP. Ben goes right back in. They're trying to find a target, but no target is sticking.
Yep, so double teleports traded for basically all the summers on LWX. TOP with the map pressure right now, he's going to force the issue.
All right, already moving on towards the bottom lane too. Remember, that one's getting chipped down by LeBlanc. Knight finally has a minion wave that can help him out in this one. GimGoon is sticking underneath tower, because if he's just thinking about the individual matchup, he'll be fine. But this is really difficult for FPX, who's starting to deal with multiple minion waves, both mid and bottom lane.
Yeah, and it's, their only wave clearer really is the Culling and Doinb at this point. There's not a lot of point and click damage going on in the comp. So they're going to find it hard to push them off. You can see the amount of damage from both of these low-range compositions is going to favor of TOP.
No, Knight's getting hunted here, but
I would say GimGoon's
GimGoon's getting surrounded. We'll see who's hunting who. GimGoon's going straight for it. Oh,
He actually lands it.
Yeah, but there's no one to follow up. I'm sorry. Knight's not going to die. It's going to be GimGoon. Yeah, well, yeah, there we have it. If he hit the E, which slowed him, but there was literally no minions that were going to be there. Underlings, perhaps, that could follow through. So GimGoon was just alone on his own.
Yeah, I have to call that a mistake from GimGoon. Probably shouldn't have been that far away from the inhibitor at that point. Actually finds himself behind enemy lines somehow in that play. And just an easy pickup for TOP. This should net them an inhibitor tower at the very least.
He was trying to hold that bottom lane wave. Kim gone now. It seems like that bottom lane tower immediately taken down. You can try and push the champions back, but the cannon wave's going to do a lot of good work. And LokeN just holding Stru in the mid lane. In fact, they're just going to go straight in. Crisp is the one who's under threat. He still has flash, but he's going to keep holding on to it. Doesn't hold on to his ultimate. Uses it immediately. Tian is going to go down easily. Oh, stopwatch! But no, you're just going to go down no matter what. Even using Galio to just create some divide between him and his team.
And FPX, they're cracking under the pressure. One pick after the other. A 4v5 defend right now.
All right. Vladimir trying to create some space, but Ben is actually getting chipped down. Ben and XX are fairly low, but they're going to go right all in. Two people taunted up. Last stand here. That's going to be a Galio going down with XX as well, but Karma. The rest of FPX all falling through. LWX is really the only one that's going to be alive here, but with Crimson Rush and a lot of damage to follow up, LWX might be able to get the kill, but there are 3 more members that back him up. And that's going to be TOP answering back, and much like RNG and Invictus Gaming, forced them down to a Game 3.
Pretty exciting last fight. It was a 4v3 to start that off. Actually, FPX managed to find 2 crucial picks, but couldn't turn the tides around. I will say for this game, I think a couple of big mistakes coming over from FPX, and especially from Warhorse. First off, don't ban the Kalista. You have a Lucian and Alistar. There's no don't ban the Kaisa. Yep. Ban the Kalista. Ban away the meta counters. They wanted to ban away what LokeN is comfortable on. It really did cost them a lot in terms of the matchup that we saw, and just in terms of the gameplay. A couple of mistakes coming in from GimGoon and a couple of picks. TOP really found their way using the tools of their composition.
Yeah, specifically I felt like XX had a good one being able to support both his solo laners. I think LokeN got a lot of support, so everyone was doing quite well in their own individual lanes. But once the tower started to break through, you got to see Knight on the side lane. Really happy about that one. And LokeN always looking for plays. When it was Yorick on the bottom side of the map, you saw him looking to push Yorick out there. Because that's at that point in the game, that's really their only win condition. LWX was way too far behind in the composition that was built for him.
Yeah, and you could see with all those support items, it still wasn't enough to keep his damage. He actually did quite well with the culling, actually, just looking at there.
It was all right.
But he wasn't able to carry in the entire team. I will say FPX, though, they still have Doinb over Knight. I think that's the big thing about the series is that Knight hasn't really been able to get off. Like, FPX has him contained throughout the drafts, and that's pretty well done for them. They should hold on to that part.
Let me tell you, if you're going to have an Olaf just start laning, just like 2v1, I've never seen someone, actually SOFM has done that in the past, but you just have somebody who's literally like, oh, look, I'm just, at this point, wave control, you get none of it because I'm just throwing every axe at the wave so we can push in. So I think it was a difficult one for Knight because he's dealing with a lot. The resources are just being piled on top of him, and I think he's doing really well with that.
Yeah.
A lot of that pressure coming in. Game 1 was a different story. But in Game 2, that was, for him, just tough to deal with.
It definitely was. It's a very solid game from TOP. Knight played well as well. And when we come back, I actually want to tell you a little story about Olaf and SOFM that we heard from the LCK.
All right. I want to hear a little bit of that story. Story time with Clement is what we'll get after the break. We'll see if we can get something good like that. I have a few of my own. Till then, I'll see you guys after the short break.
"控制自己，掌控敌人。
啊，这一波仅剩 Top 一人，有点难守，兵线已经续上了5个大残血在面前，而且听一波给
职责所在。
我也闪现回旋踢 ，Top 再劫难逃。
你今天不会取得胜利的。
这把比赛打得实在是太好了。
执子之魂，
与子共生。
又是一条小龙。 UT 的冰爪已经交掉了，上面的2个上单扭打在高地塔前，
但是老婆没了，
哎，老婆被打掉了，一个人大招先刮一下，现在这个球推得很不错，康体这边血量已经下到1/3，两边3都没有将 TP 的打断，龙被拿掉 ，UP 进场进入3个人，
上吧饿狼！
狩猎又开始了，
滑板 R 进来 ，LE 拉板，但你们的大招放的也太好了吧，滑板这波又飞进去死掉了，残局的处理上，奥拉夫这边劈掉了1人之后赶紧往上溜，
下一个是谁？
是所有人。本能引领着我的脚步。
这豹女会不会等会儿来一镖啊？
神奇一镖，触发福能回身，
正在觅食。
第4血
2，
有点来了。
不管是用爪还是用矛，你的结局都是一样的。
来了！被我的天哪！心态崩了，彻底没了，
就真的没了。
战斗之心，至死方休。
哎，这一波奥拉夫
两边中单
还有惩戒，
王子也在附近，
吃不进去，怎么办？
要出事儿了！
德玛西亚！
先杀一个奥拉夫，队友们溜了吧。Scout 在这边碰到孔明，孔明没闪现的，
但是皇子这边有7级啊，这你不敢造次吧？
王子也没大了。现在这一波的话，以奥拉夫的死亡告终。
灾难始终慢我一步。我感应到又一枚符文了。走，马上。我们走，我们走。符文在召唤，这就对了。我已经参透了符文，我感到力量的涌动。刀光剑能奈我何？
但是牺牲掉的是远古龙的血量，远古龙血量下到3400血，非常危机，一触即发的状态，远古龙再度回血啦！这时候又来一个 TP， 应该是 AJ 的 TP 将会到场，而另
你输了。
TP 将会到场，而另一边369还在复活中，马上 TP 到场，但另一边卡莎前面秒了，这波远古龙怎么说？正面的战场上面，卡莎的纯文脚被打了下来，但另一边熊熊已经拿到远古巨龙，而另一边369到场，直接绕后 ，UZI 倒了。
啥？你想看魔术？一切化为乌有，不过一瞬之间。
这一波剩下的应该是蓝色方的一个追剿战了。那既然拿下了远古巨龙，后续的战斗他们就没有不赢的道理。
以意志之名。现在才是开始。